Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Coaching from the Couch. This is your Washington Commanders update, where we will be discussing a recap of OTA's Week 2. And I am your host, Candy Seawall Waller, coming to you from Bowie Television to give you some exclusive insights on all of the things that I saw and heard during media availability in this week's OTA practice. For returning viewers, welcome back. If you're new, welcome. We like to have a good time here. We like to enjoy, we like to keep it very authentic and transparent on all the things that we are seeing. If you're joining us, make sure you're subscribed and you're liking so that you can get those alerts as well and notifications for whenever we post anything. We have so much content for you to enjoy. So this is one of them. So let's stay a while, why don't we, and talk through my thoughts on this week's OTA practice, the one practice that the media was able to attend. We may as well get into it. Similar to what I've done in the past, is taking you through the day, which starts out with the Dan Quinn press conference. So here's some of the highlights from Dan Quinn's presser that I want to bring your attention to.
Eckler and all that, in addition to feel they can play, but the leadership aspect. So what kind of little things have you seen already where their leadership has maybe impacted others?
You may have seen like a little bit of time before practice or post practice. We call that like that's their time that they work on to get better. And you'll see Zach working through a specific route. You may see Wags, pulling somebody to the side and discussing a coverage or a concept to go. And so I'd say those are the small markers. And then off the field, if you'd ask one of those guys, take me through your process. And I think for a younger player, that's a big deal for them coming into the NFL to make sure it may not be exactly what Bobby done or what Zach has done or others, but there is a process that they follow. And that's a really important role for somebody just entering in. We're going to be playing football for a long time. And so make sure this is how I warm up. This is how I do things to take care of my body. This is how I study. And so those processes are really important.
Do you already see some of those younger guys heeding what they're seeing and learning?
Yes. And like what a value for some of the players at their positions to come in. And, you found out early on, and I'd asked, Ben, have you met Zach? Yeah, he already reached out to me. And so knowing they were already ahead of them before they even got here, that's what leadership is all about.
I've been mentioning this because we know that there has been a gap, if you will, in leadership with the Commanders over the years. But to know, see, and also hear from head coach Dan Quinn about the relationship building, some of the very direct engagement from leaders that are now on the team, coaching up the younger guys, as well as those that are returning from the Commanders roster. It is a very real thing and it is promising. I also want to highlight head coach Dan Quinn saying, going to be playing football for a very long time. So even the discussions about how they're maintaining their bodies, what they're eating, these are very real things. And the fact that those conversations are being had now, it's a good deal. So for sure, that was a highlight for me in the Dan Quinn press conference. Here's another one.
I'd say probably a little bit of both. And what you'll find from him is like this is a rare competitor. I remember, going on 10 years now or longer, me filming an install. So, as coaches, sometimes you film to see, how did I teach and how did it go? And I can remember that day specifically, it might have been the first day of an OTA. I had filmed it and went back home that night to watch it. And I was so pissed at myself because I didn't ask specific people the questions. In other words, Ben, what is this? And John, what is this? And so I'd ask questions, and like Bobby Wagner and Earl Thomas answered like every question, as it come up. They just had that type of intensity about them. So I would say he is both. Pull somebody to the side to discuss it, think about it in this way, but he does it in his own way as a leader. And that's what I want he and Zach and others that are here to make sure they're here as ball players first, but when you look back on it, some of the people that mentored him, now that's a way to pay it forward. And so that's one of the coolest parts of our game is when now you get to pass that along to the next one. And the very best players do that. And I look back and was fortunate to, coach guys like a Bryant Young or a Jason Taylor and, others that has made the Hall of Fame. But there was this common trait of sharing that knowledge to the next. And I thought that was always one of the cool parts of like the great players that were willing to pass it on to the next guy.
So that clip was on veteran linebacker Bobby Wagner, which I have a clip from Bobby Wagner that I want to share with you all from his press conference in a moment. But again, it's that notion around leadership and DQ specifically mentioning who the leaders are in the room. I think that is very, very important. Something else that Dan Quinn mentioned, and my media colleague Ben Standig from The Athletic asked this question. It was around Emanuel Forbes doing some return work last week. And I think if this was really important, because I was like, wow, have not seen Forbes do this. I have not seen him do it, of course, even last year.
But also you guys had him doing some punt returns last week. Just kind of curious, do you see that as possibly part of his future?
Well, I think right off the bat, we know there's more return opportunities. And so Emmanuel's got, ridiculous return skills as a defensive player of returning. So we wanted to add that part of it. Although he didn't do it at Mississippi State, that doesn't mean he doesn't have the traits necessary. So we got a big, deep crew now that we're working people both in punt return and in kick return. And so just like everything, we're trying to, find out what unique things a player has and how to feature them. That not only will be during this time of year. Can he be a punt returner? Can a safety come down to play dime? Can a tight end split out wide? Those are things that it takes time through training camp. One player may be able to, another player may not. And so it does take a little bit of exploring, but that's like our job as coaches to find any unique traits that the players have and then how would we feature those unique traits and trying to find the things that people can do versus the things that they can't do.
Never saw him get back there. Never saw the special teams coach give that an attempt. Anybody give that an attempt. I thought that was very key because as Dan Quinn and other coaches continue to say, they want to maximize talent. They want to see their unique skill sets. They want to know their superpowers. So seeing them give it a shot with Emanuel Forbes and Dan Quinn sharing in the press conference that they believe that he can do it and he has those capabilities and those unique traits, that's something that we're going to continue to watch after for certain. Okay, so definitely, if you got your notepads out, Commanders fans, make a note of it about Emanuel Forbes returning kicks, returning punts. Definitely a possibility, and they are seeing if he can, in fact, do that. Now, here's something Dan Quinn shared that was absolutely music to my ears.
Dan, training camp's right around the corner. Curious about your philosophy with joint practices and if you have any joint practices that you know that you can announce or to that nature.
Yeah, so right now we have one joint practice scheduled with Miami. And so that will be there and we'll work with them for a day and then have our game. And we'll discuss that, with some other teams as we're going in to see if everything logistics-wise can line up. But there's value in it to say just seeing other looks and people and formations and speed. And so there's real value to doing it. And so if we can, we will.
A joint practice with the Miami Dolphins in Miami during preseason. Listen, some people may say it's just preseason, but Commanders fans, go ahead and pack your bags. Go ahead and go. Why don't you? I think it would be a splendid time. You should actually make that trip. But a joint practice has its ups and its downs, right? The joint practices that I've covered in the past, the ones against the New York Jets and then last year against the Baltimore Ravens, typically a brawl and debacle of some sort tends to break out when it's multiple days. So I think one day, everybody should be safe and all attitudes should hopefully stay in check if it's just one day. It'll be hot, but it was hot in Ashburn. So we'll see what happens. But I do think that was great. And I was like, wow, very good. That'll be something to look forward to during training camp. Now on to practice. And of course, everybody's favorite part. Bags. That's what it's called. So, hey, you'll typically see that in these recaps. As long as they're doing it, I'm going to show a clip on it because I think it's cool. And it absolutely does set the tone for practice. For example, Coach Daryl Tapp had his guys ready to go. Coach Joe Witt Jr. was out due to a graduation. So we certainly spent some time over there with the defensive line. If you all looked through the highlight video, you saw that we also spent some time watching the quarterbacks, watching the DBs. So good to see that intensity as those guys were working together. I also want to show you another highlight and another note, insight, somebody that I think had a really good time at practice. And that was you all's favorite, or I should say one of you all's favorite, Mr. number 17 himself, Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin seemed to really enjoy practice. Things definitely turned up a bit with Coach Cliff Kingsbury's offense. And we're going to get into, therefore, my next highlight, where running back Brian Robinson Jr. talked a little bit about what he's learning, his first impressions of offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury. You could definitely feel that energy during practice. And I'm sure you all have seen a lot of those catches and highlights on the Washington Commanders site. Yeah, for sure. The offense was definitely bringing all of the energy for sure. Let's check out a couple of my highlights from B-Rob's press conference.
What's Cliff been like as an OC so far?
I love Cliff. You know, he has great energy. You know, I feel like he does a great job with, you know, trying to get to know his players and his personnel and just know how to best, you know, utilize us and, you know, put us in the best, you know, position to make plays. And I feel like, you know, he's been doing a great job of that, you know, and I appreciate it.
So that's one of the things I know, and I mentioned before on a previous recap that I asked Coach Kingsbury about. And again, this is a recurring theme with the staff. They're trying to find those unique skill sets, maximizing those superpowers, really figuring out and finding out what the guys are good at and wanting them to do more of that. This is not a situation where they're forcing them to be somebody that they are not. They're taking exactly what their athletic intellectual capital is, and they're just honing in on that. So to hear Brian Robinson share that, I'm like, okay, again, I can see it. I know the staff has said that. I know that's what I'm seeing. So once you start to hear the players, this was also a recurring thing from Jahan Dotson, Sam Cosmi, and others. And I think it's an important point to mention the returning players that are mentioning these things, because I know in watching and attending practice and watching games, and I'm sure you all know as well, that wasn't something that we readily saw. So to know that the strengths are being maximized and the players can feel and sense that already in May, positive trend that right there, positive trend. Here's another note from B-Rob I wanted to mention.
The install, but what kind of differences are you seeing from Cliff's offense from what you guys have been running?
I mean, it's going to be a little bit faster, you know, as far as, you know, if I'm comparing it to offense we had last year. I don't really want to go much into detail as far as, like, what kind of play calls we will have. I just know the tempo will be faster, you know, compared to last year. We had a, a huddle type of offense. You know, this offense would be more no huddle. So if I can give any idea of, you know, how this offense will go, it'll be a no huddle offense.
This goes back to my point I was just mentioning, and one of you all's favorites, Terry McLaurin, having a very good time, it seemed, in practice. He was jovial. He was excited. All the guys, they're talking smack. The offense was heating it up. Yes, the defense responded, but there was some energy there for certain, and I could feel that. So when B Rob mentioned that in the presser, I said, okay, this is for sure something that I want to highlight and mention to everyone watching. This is something, it's definitely faster, certainly creative, and B Rob has already told you, looking like a know-how-to offense for sure. Now let me go back to a previous point that I stuck on a bit with Dan Quinn talking about leadership, and I pulled a snippet from linebacker Bobby Wagner's press conference. Check it out.
For a team.
I think the middle linebacker position always naturally, you're a leader because you call the plays, you have to relay the messages, you're the one that tend to communicate the most in most cases. So I think it started with people around me. Obviously, Coach Norton was always putting that into my mind, like being a leader. Then I was fortunate enough to have conversations with like Ray Lewis, Mike Singletary, those guys before me. And so I think I just try to grow into it. I was blessed to have like natural leaders. I had Cam Chancellor, I had Sherm, I had Mike Bennett. So those guys I had a chance to learn from. And, when it was my opportunity, I tried to take advantage of it.
When you call the plays, is your cadence something that you like developed over time, or is that just
Hey, you got to grow up, man. At some point, you got to grow up, okay? See, that's my job, too. You got to tell people to grow up. Sorry, go ahead. See, now he mad. Go ahead.
So I've seen some conversations on the various platforms about that moment. And you all have probably seen by now that safety Jeremy Reeves has responded, because that is who Bobby Wagner was talking to. And he said, hey, that's my guy. That's Big Bro. That's the relationship that they have. But hey, listen, this is Bobby Wagner. And he also said that's part of my job too. And he's setting a standard, he's setting a stage, and this is what it is. And the guys have nothing but respect for that. Definitely have nothing but respect for it. It's the merging of different cultures, and I've mentioned this on other recaps. And that one of the things that I'm going to be watching and continuing to watch is just the differences, right? From those returning on the roster to those that are new on the roster, and the standard that is being set by the staff and the overall organization. Listen, that was a little bit of banter between teammates. Nothing to be concerned about. If anything, it should be motivating, right? That hey, there's some leaders around here doing a press conference, and we're gonna talk for a second. But hey, those guys are good. Like Jeremy Reeves said, that's Big Bro, that's his guy, that's their relationship. So I'm going to say, you all heard it from me. I was standing right there when it happened. Nothing to see here. Okay. Now, here's what I'm going to close out the recap on. Because a mad Jonathan Allen goes viral. A mad Jonathan Allen goes viral. But can a happy Jonathan Allen go viral, please? Can we do something to make sure a very happy Jonathan Allen goes viral?
Yeah, I feel like I'm just so happy. I love the coaching staff. I love the direction we're moving at. I love the way we're working, man. It has truly been reinvigorating and just so fun to come to work every day. And this is literally just a dream job right now.
I'm going to go ahead and go right into the next clip, which is a bit longer, with Jonathan Allen explaining a bit more about what he is so happy about. But again, hey, listen, if we're going to spend some time on Jonathan Allen when he's upset and when he's mad, let's spend some time when he's happy.
Just definitely just taking time away from the game. Obviously, I'm emotional, and last year was tough. But after time moves on, you learn from the past, and get ready for the future. And I'm super excited about what we've done. Coach Quinn has been awesome. Mr. Peters has been awesome. I'm really happy with the way things are going. So now we're just working.
Very different looking defensive line, other than basically you and Duran. What's your early thought of the pieces that are around you now?
It's good. We're all working hard. We're all pushing each other, and we're all competing against each other to try to make the best defensive line we can make. So, to be honest, I couldn't ask for anything more.
You've been part of youth movements and rebuilds here before. What's different about this group? What's different about the perspective and everything about this?
Man, the thing I love most about what we got going on right now is everybody's determined and everyone's focused, and how do I say this? Everybody has something to prove, and we're all pushing towards the same direction, you know? And I think that's going to be so great for us. Everybody has the same motive, the same motivation. We're all chasing after the same goal, and we're all pushing each other to get there. So, you know, it's really been exciting being here.
And does that feel like different than just any other offseason where you get that optimism that comes from being away from the game?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's pretty known that we've had, you know, our struggles in the past, but I mean, it has been really good this year. So, you know, I'm not going to talk about how great it is because at the end of the day, we still got a lot to prove, but I have a smile on my face coming to work every day.
And did you have conversations with Adam or DQ like in the offseason about, hey, what's this going to look like or how are we going to do this?
Yes. I mean, I talked with them, but they didn't talk to me about like their plans, which I don't really think they had to or should have, you know what I mean? We just talked about, you know, what we want this thing to look like, and I'm on board with it.
What do you think of Jaden so far?
He's cool, man. He's a quiet guy. He comes in, he works, and, you know, I pride myself on being one of the first guys here, and he always beats me here, so I think that's, you know, that's pretty cool. Stays late. I mean, he does everything you want out of your number 2 overall pick rookie quarterback, so I'm excited to see him work, excited to see him play. You know, I'm just focused on what I got to do to try to make his life as easy as possible.
So yes, we're going to do what we can to make sure a happy Jonathan Allen goes viral, because a bad one certainly does. Let's make sure a happy one goes viral as well. But what I wanted to close out this recap on is his answer to my media colleague JP Finlay's question about Jaden. Jonathan Allen absolutely is typically the first and one of the first ones there. If Jaden beats him there, let's say that's an intangible that you all for certain want to make note of, because that is a very, very important point, and it's a good one. Very good. So, you all, I hope you all enjoyed this OTA Week 2 recap. I'll make sure to do another one whenever we're back out there. Of course, we're not out there every single practice, but when we are, as in the local media, I will make sure I do a check-in and let you all know my exclusive insights and takes from the day. You all can see where to follow me, and I guess I'll be talking to you guys again soon.